Welcome to episode 3 of Wishful Inking, a Disney Lorcana TCG podcast from us here at Inkborn Heroes. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about whether Disney Lorcana exclusive products are a good thing. With me, as always, is Matheus, my co-host. How are you doing today, Matheus?
I am doing great. How about you, Charlie?
I'm also doing really well. This is a topic that in our household, at least, is something we talk about a lot, and about the pros and the cons. So excited to talk about it.
Probably a lot, actually. We're always talking about that, and I
Yeah.
think every new season, when more products like that comes along, we talk about and start the same conversation all over again.
Yeah.
So here we are. Hopefully, we can break that down further.
Yeah, but before that, we had a small milestone for the channel this week that we wanted to talk about because we reached 20,000 subscribers, which is honestly absolutely insane. We did a post talking about it, but just it's one of those milestones I didn't think we would ever get to. And I mean, it became obvious, like, in the last few months, it was going to get there eventually. But when we started the channel, I just never in my imagination would we have made 20,000.
I think it's the speed of things, right? That we're more surprised. Of course, as a goal during this, we want to reach those. So we're trying our best to get there. But just the fact that we already are at 20,000 from the beginning. And also, it's worth saying as well, we just reached 15,000 as well on Instagram.
Yes.
So 20,000 on YouTube and 15 on Instagram. So anyway, just before we get started on the episode, we just want to give you a huge thank you. Your support means the world to us, and that's why we're here, right? I think it's just all the love we receive, all the care, all the kindness, and we just want to create the best content for you out there. So thank you so much for appreciating, and thank you so much for joining us on this adventure.
Yeah, thank you so much. We always said when we started the channel, when we started the YouTube channel, it was all about kind of creating the resources we wish we'd had when we started to get into the game. And we always joke like we didn't know what an LGS was or how to go to a Disney Lorcana league or anything like that. So that's always been the focus of our content on kind of the more new players, the casual players, the social players. Obviously, it's resonated. There's a huge community of people getting into the game, and you know, if we can be part of that journey, it's really huge for us. So we do really, really appreciate it. We couldn't get to 20,000 subs without the 20,000 of you who choosing to subscribe. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, and hopefully for more and more.
Yes, let's keep going. We really want that. Was it the 100,000?
We want the
silver
YouTube plaque.
Yeah.
So we need to get to 100,000. So help us here. We promise we'll carry on if we reach 100,000. Okay, should we get to the focus of this?
Yes,
this
so
episode?
let us get to the focus of this episode, which is talking about Disney Lorcana exclusive products. And I think first things first, should we give a definition of what we're talking about with this?
For sure.
Do you want to go?
No, you can do that. I know there are 3 different categories. At least that's how we're covering them.
Yes.
But I think you can do a better job going through that.
Yeah, so for us, when we talk about exclusive products, we're talking about products themselves, which are like for people who are watching the video version of the podcast, you'll see that. So we have the D23 collection here, and we have the Mickey and Minnie Fabled Foil playmat that just got released, as well as the Belle Hidden Archer playmat, which was available through the Ravensburger store. So for us, there's this like product line of products that are exclusive at a particular retailer. So far, it's been the Disney store, Disney events, Disney parks, and also the Ravensburger store. There's also promo cards, so things like what were given out during the Epcot Festival of the Arts.
Yes, that's right.
So you could do a collection quest, get an exclusive promo, so that was only available at Disney World, so even more specific. And then there's also like other promo cards, like the cruise line promo cards that you can only get from doing the cruise line, things like that.
Cinema promo, publisher promo, which are its own thing. We're going to go one by one later on and explain those as well. But that's part of what we call promos. You can acquire more with the intent, hopefully, of trading and less so of purchasing something to put on your collection. Obviously, you will still have in your collection, but it's just the grandiosity behind it. Mm-hmm. And then finally, we have a third category, which is the DLC or Disney Lorcana Challenge prizes, which of course it is also something you would collect. There's a huge exclusivity behind that based on your success rate on that tournament. But we think that has its own category and its own merits.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're talking about in terms of the exclusive products. I'm just checking my list because there are actually a lot, and every now and again they'll just be like, oh, there's now a publisher promo, which is we're not even really sure how you get a publisher promo. But in the past, like when you bought the we do know, because there's going to be the book,
the new book coming out. They're saying already it will come with a we guess it's a publisher promo. It's going to be a promo, right? And really, at the end of the day, it will probably follow the same frame and the same style of promo cards, but the difference is on the icon, the iconography on the bottom, right? Similarly to what we got with the cinema promo, which was with Moana and Zootopia 2. There's an icon representing that, which of course for collectors, it makes a huge deal.
Yeah. And I think like we're obviously going to talk about the pros and cons, but in terms of the products, and this was the discussion Matheus had literally before we sat down to record this, in that in my mind, feel like promos and products belong in two different categories. Because I was saying to Matheus, like I feel like a promo card is like, it's a trading card. This is a trading card game. And, you know, in my mind, you can get a promo card from Epcot Food and Wine or Festival of the Arts and then trade it for another card that you might want. And I feel like that's kind of very much in the kind of the intention of the game, in the whole, like, you get a card, you trade a card. And there's like a really long established practice with like Disney locations specifically. Like if you go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, you always get a trading card for a game that I'm not even sure what the game is, but it's something that's handed out. But I kind of feel, for me, that's in the spirit of like a trading card product or a trading card game in general, versus a product like a playmat or like the D23 collection, which is very much like, I don't see those in the same way that you're trading, that you could potentially trade those for a card or something. It feels very much like a commodity in a different way. And
I think another way to say that as well is the purchasing element behind it. The majority of the examples we're giving with the promo cards are things you will get for participating on something for free. I say for free because it's not free, right? You're going to a Disney cruise line, you're paying for the Disney cruise line, or you're going to Epcot to the Festival of Arts, you paid the ticket to go there. But as a consequence of that, you get access to those promos technically for free. Versus all the other examples you gave, you're actually going out of your way, spending your money to buy a full product, right? That has some sort of exclusivity. So I tend to agree with what you're saying, but I also don't know if all people that go through the process, their mentality is to trade. I think unfortunately the current mentality is more the collection element behind it. So it's about selling, reselling, which has its own beast on its own. Try to get money behind that, right? But hopefully the incentive of trading will take more priority over reselling in the future. At least that's something we hope.
Yeah, that would be the hope. And I mean, we can talk about, because obviously we don't know kind of what the intention is behind these kind of exclusive products or exclusive promo cards. That's kind of up to Ravensburger and to Disney to know. But like we can kind of make some assumptions about why they do this and what the pros are of something like this. And a big one to me is that, or a big one to us, is that it drives people toward those locations. So if I'm someone who, you know, really wants the D23 collection, and we'll talk a little bit more about this particular D23 collection, then, you know, as a consumer, I'm going to actively go to those locations. So for us, it was the Disney store in New York. So then we go to the location, we get the product, we spend more money. People going to Disney World, like if you plan to do a trip because you want to grab the D23 collection, then now you're spending money on hotels, you're spending money on park tickets. So it has a potential to drive a lot of revenue to those locations. So I can see from a, you know, very business-oriented mindset of like an executive at Disney or an executive at Ravensburger, they see, oh, this is a way to pull people toward something that they'll end up spending more money.
Which is a very common practice with Disney products in general, right? I don't think it's any surprise here, but also from the cons that we're going to get into later, it also doesn't mean that because Disney have been doing that for so long that they should still do it like that, right? I think there's the counter argument that, because I feel like, okay, let me go back a little bit. I feel like often we hear the argument saying, oh, but that's just how it is with Disney, right? They do like that. It always been like that. It doesn't mean that we have to agree with that, right? As consumers and as collectors and as fans, we want the best for Disney Lorcana. So maybe there could be better ways to deal with that information. I don't have the answer, of course. I do think personally it is 100% about business. I do think, of course it is, right? Especially for locations where you have to get tickets to attend some of those things, right? And it turns into this snowball very, very fast in terms of cost, as it would.
Yeah, and it's already like trading card games are an expensive hobby. They are very much a luxury. And then, you know, if you're people who are collectors and you want to have absolutely every card, you want to have absolutely every product, then, you know, it really does rack up. Either you need to go to those locations, you need to like spend money on travel, on hotels, on like actually being there, or you need to have a friend. That's how we managed to get the Mickey and Minnie playmat. We
Two
had
friends, in fact.
Yeah, we were fortunate to have friends who were able to go to the parks in Paris and in Florida to be able to pick those up for us. But I think one of the other things is, okay, so as Matheus said, like, this is a practice these companies have, especially Disney with exclusive products, have had for a very, very long time. And I think there is kind of something to that because it does synergize. So like, part of it is bringing in Disney Lorcana fans to those locations to spend money, but also people who are already in those locations who maybe don't know Disney Lorcana will see this exclusive product if it's marketed as like you can only get it here. Potentially they buy it because they're interested or they're curious, and then it will kind of get them into it as a hobby. I think that's maybe more true with things like the promo cards, like especially with the collection quests, but I think that is kind of like a part of it.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it is very successful, especially when we look at Epcot, right? And I think Collection Quest as a whole, it was a successful approach that I don't even know if they expected it to be that much, right? Because it's a marketing tool on its own, right?
Yeah.
If used positively, right? So I'm not against that, and I think, well, I don't think either of us are against any of that anyway. Yeah. It's just a conversation, right? But it gives me anxiety, right? As a person that wants to collect, and again, we are not crazy collectors, but we do see those things, and especially in the position with Inkborn Heroes, where we have to be aware of all of that. We almost automatically wants to own those things as well, right?
Yeah.
It's just a risky on its own, but with that mindset and coming from that position, there is some level of frustration of how do we get access to those, because I feel like as long as the access was equal to people, and that can be across supporting many regions, it could be across having multiple events that can provide that to you, right? Then I feel like it'll be more fair. And not only that, another thing that often comes across for me as an issue is how those things are communicated as well. And the D23 collection is one of those examples that we're going to talk about later, but that comes with a lot of frustration because a message was given versus a message that actually was follow through later on.
Yeah. Well, right now, since we're talking about the pros, and we were racking our brains about the pros, I think the last one we kind of felt, and it kind of leans into that point that you were making, Matheus, and it's that it creates chase products for people like us who are, collectors as well as players. So, we're going to put out a reel at some point, but we do have every single playmat that's been released so far. So it is a really nice collection. It looks amazing on the shelf. We love the art. We love collecting them. But it used to be that we could go to our local game store and just pick them up. Yeah. Versus now, it's a lot more of a mission to get those. We were in a really privileged position that Bell we got sent by Ravensburger, which was amazing of them. And then, as we said, Mickey and Minnie we were able to get because of just having friends who were close to the parks.
I think there's a quick addendum. So when we say we collect all playmats, we mean the playmats that are purchasable. We are not talking about, well, I suppose you could still purchase anything, right?
Yeah.
But we're not talking about the DLC ones, the foil ones, right? That's its own thing. I think it will be too hard to do that as well. But we try as well with the set championship, right? Either by winning it, which was most of the case, or purchasing the ones that we did not win, which are not most of the case, which is great to say. But anyway, so yes, that complicates things, right? It gets harder and harder. I think that's the point what we're saying, but also it's very, very exciting to see more playmats, because I think the positive side of that is as soon as they have to still not attend to, how do I say, still they still have to hopefully have 2 playmats for local game stores, because that's something they're trying to follow as a format, meaning that that's almost a given. But then suddenly now, because now they want to probably make money through Disney specific locations and Ravensburger exclusive products, there are 2 more of those coming every set. So now instead of having 2 per set, we have 4. So you could see that as a positive thing, as someone that wants to collect and as someone that loves seeing those art in the form of playmat. But then of course the other side of that is it's more costs and also the difficulty of acquiring those.
And that's why we wanted to actually do this as a topic for the podcast, because obviously we want to hear all of your opinions as well. But spoiler alert, there are going to be 2 more of these exclusive playmats coming with Wilds Unknown. Right now, we don't know the exact details of how you can get them. We can assume based on Winterspell that one of them, which is the
foil playmat, because we have, it's kind of the same format. That's why we're assuming, right? Yeah. So we know already there's a foil playmat, which is Woody and Buzz Lightyear in the Wilds Unknown. That's the art. because we just had Mickey and Minnie foil, again, we're assuming that's the Disney specific location playmat. And then the second one, which comes out at a different date, which was also confirmed, not the date, but that the fact that it's outside of the kind of an evergreen product, is the Rapunzel High Climber. So again, it makes us automatically assume that is a Ravensburger exclusive store playmat, right? At least that's our thought process.
Yeah. So they're coming. I actually, people were also looking at the promo card numbers for the D23 collection, and they figured out that there's like a gap in the numbers. There's like a bunch of cards all sequential, a gap, and then another bunch of cards. So people are already speculating there's going to be like another D23 collection. And I think from like, again, a business perspective, every time they've done a product like this, there've been lines outside of the door. They sell out within a few hours, like within minutes in some cases. So there is an appetite there. That's the good stuff about it. But I think there's also a lot of cons with it and a lot of kind of, I would say, negative sentiment from the community. And I know we have a lot of topics to talk about. So I think the first thing we can say is the geographical inequality of these products. So for anyone who, isn't super clued up on these things, generally when it's a Disney parks or Disney exclusive, it's available at the Disney stores. So there's the Disney flagship stores. So there's one in New York, there's one in London, there's one in Dublin. And I think that's it. And then it's also at all of the parks in in Europe and North America. So it's at Disneyland Paris, Disney World, and Disneyland in Anaheim in California. So those are really the only locations. So if you live in, mainland Europe, great. If you live in the UK, great. If you live in the USA, I will say it's great. But if you live kind of in Eastern Europe, if you live in Australia, if you live in Canada, Asia, Africa,
everywhere else,
it becomes very,
Brazil,
exactly.
impossible.
South America, it becomes very, very difficult. And I think one of the things that kind of irks us is the fact that there is this geographical inequality, and it's very difficult for certain regions to even get their hands on these products.
And it's very consistent, which is sad. Like when I'm asking for consistency from Ravensburger, I'm not asking for consistency in inequality. Inequality? How do I say the word? I'm very sassy right now, so I'm sorry. But it's the fact that we don't see, or I don't see, a light in the end of the tunnel yet for locations. And maybe it will change, right? Maybe it's a testing. Because when we hear a long time ago, the first time they did a collection quest with those exclusive products, which was, I think was Belle and Beast, right? Back on Epcot. They did say it is a test run, right? The plan is to expand and give other means for the players to access those products. But we haven't seen that changing yet, right? Right now, it's still all about those locations. And of course, automatically, that's where the parks are, right? So at least that argument, I understand, right? How do you argue against that? Even though we could say, okay, there is also Asia, right? There are other places like that, but I mean, those are just part of the details. That is what bothers me when I talk about the cons, right? Is the fact that I don't think there is anywhere right now a plan to include Canada or include any of those other places, right? Which makes things very, very hard because, as I said earlier, it's okay to have exclusivity, but we need to have easy access or give equal opportunities for the people to try to access that exclusivity. From the moment that you can't do that, especially because of location, I think that's a problem.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because I think the Ravensburger exclusive playmat kind of highlighted that issue even more because there is not even a North American Ravensburger store, there's a USA Ravensburger store, and it will only ship if you have an address in the United States. So if you're in Canada or Mexico, which is still technically North America, you can't access that product. And it's the same with the Disney exclusive. Like, it's locked to that location. It's not like something that goes onto the Disney store. And so I'm jumping around a little bit because one of the good things about the Ravensburger store exclusive is you could buy it in physical locations, but you could also buy it online. They had a whole system. So there was like almost like a lottery. So you got into a line, you said you were interested, and then certain people got an email saying, oh, you've been selected. You can now purchase the playmat. And at least that, it doesn't matter where you live within Europe or America, the United States, you have a shot at getting it versus the Disney exclusive products where you literally have to go to World of Disney in Orlando, line up outside of it, hope that you're like in the right place in the line because you got there early enough in order to have a shot. And I think I don't know. That just feels like that feels wrong to me.
I agree. No, I mean, I don't have much to add.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a fair process, and I would hope that they realize that very soon, because the more the game grows, the more those products are available, the more the prices will hike for the people that are able to get those and sell secondhand, right? And that is a concern, right? I think there are people that could be picky and say, I don't want to join a game like that. Collectors, I mean, not players, but collectors. They'll be like, if it is so hard to get access to those things, it's always going to have that anxiety on your mind, right? So it is a tricky one, but I don't know this. Well, I know the solution. The solution is provide to everyone, but of course, it's easier said than done.
Yeah, because I guess the production costs of some of these things are harder, and they probably even want the kind of the FOMO, the scarcity.
Of course, is it still supposed to be exclusive?
Yeah,
I get that. I get it. But I think that comes down also to quantity and frequency.
Yeah.
Right? I just find unfair when it is about region.
Yeah.
I think that's as simple as that, right? Especially when you say about shipping, right? When they're shipping from Ravensburger store. It's such a shame, but at the same time, I mean, it's logistics at the end of the day, right? Yeah.
And I mean, we actually have our own story about going to a location to pick up a product. So I mentioned at the top of the video, we do have the D23 collection, which was, so I guess if we rewind a little bit, during the initial D23 where Lorcana was announced, if you were at that event, you could buy a D23 collection, right? And it was
mean the first
the
one
original
ever.
one, yeah.
I think it was retailing for 40 or maybe 49.99 USD, which is super cheap, because nowadays it's 10,000, 15,000.
Crazy.
It's literally, I think it was one of each card from each ink color with the D23 logo underneath. It's literally the first product ever shown out there, and the first cards
and
ever.
Started the precedent.
Exactly. And it's a beautiful product, I'll be honest, like the box and everything else, right? So that was something that, like I said, it started the precedent, and then from that moment on, people already knew that products like that would be worth a lot of money. Yeah. So when this second one was announced, which is this blue one here, the D23 collection, that's not the same as that. Yeah. But the idea, or how they presented that information initially, was you have to go to D23 to get it. That was the first impression. Yes. Just based on what happened before.
That's true, because the first one, you could only, it was like the most exclusive region locked.
You have to be there.
You have to be in Disney World, Disneyland in Anaheim at the D23 convention in order to get that.
Which makes sense. Again, it was the beginning of everything, right? They wanted to make, I mean, everything makes sense. I should say that, right? It's just our opinion at the end of the day. But then this one set this precedent, as you would expect. It will do this, and that. It will have a huge value. But then that was followed alongside by actually you'll be able to get at some locations like Disney stores and the parks. It's literally Disney locations.
And I think that was only announced, like, I want to say, this might not be right, but I feel like it was about 6 weeks. So they announced this product like a few months in advance. You can only get it at D23. Okay, cool. And then something like 6 weeks before that, they were like, also, there are going to be limited quantities available at
Disney locations. They didn't say where.
Yeah.
Disney locations. So that was the second step. Because we didn't know. I remember making the post and we're like, what does it mean? Is it Disneyland? Is it Japan? Is it just the Disney World? Is it at the park itself, or is it in the stores, like World of Disney? We didn't know. And of course, a big issue with that as well, that we can get into a little bit details, is Ravensburger unfortunately doesn't have that information either. Or at least that's what we hear from Ravensburger representatives.
Yes.
As soon as it is a product that is Disney locations exclusive, like this one, they don't have that information. And even more or less, they if you call those shops, they also don't have that information beforehand.
Yeah, that's like something. So we've been to Disney a few times, just like for trips since Lorcana's been out. And even if you go and ask them, like, hey, do you have any booster packs? Like, half of the employees don't even know what booster packs are. They don't know what Disney Lorcana is. If they do know, they are so vague, like they can't give you any information about when there are going to be products, like any of this stuff. So this is like on the shop level, just the employees working the shop don't know anything. Ravensburger, who are kind of the ones communicating about the game, also don't have access to that information. As Matheus said, as soon as it's like a Disney store product, Ravensburger just don't know. They don't know
Disney location. I feel like not even just store, right?
Yeah,
even things to do with Epcot or anything, they don't know. They simply, they tell us they don't know.
I mean, I'm inclined to believe.
I believe so,
but yeah, so they can't tell like quantities, availability, even locations, they aren't even able to know like which stores are going to have it, like things like that. So
but then for this case in particular, right, the D23, so we eventually, after, mind you, tickets for D23 were sold, people purchase with the intent, I think, part of the intent of getting the product. Now we realize that you can get from other places, right? And I just realized we actually forgot about the D100 as well, which is another funny example. I think we do have to talk about that after, because that for me is the worst case ever. But anyway, back to the D23 collection. So then, okay, we know there will be on Disney stores. Then somehow we learned that it's going to be New York. Right.
Well, so that.
Well, I mean, we knew, right? At the point we travel, I'm fairly sure we knew.
No, we absolutely knew. Yeah. But I do remember only booking our flight because we're in Montreal, so it's not too far to go to New York. So we booked.
It's pricey, but
it is pricey, and we were like, oh my god, it's like another product there's gonna be like so few of them, it's gonna sell for 10,000. But we also kind of wanted to go for the experience. Like we were like, we're creating content for this game. It'll be like a fun thing to do. So
and we love New York.
Yeah. So I think maybe like 2 weeks before it was happening, we booked a flight. We booked a hotel like 2 blocks away from Times Square, so that we'd be close to it. And we kind of went down we actually had the choice, right? We were like looking at Disney World as well. Yeah. And we crunched the numbers and we were like, if each of those has the same allocation, it's cheaper for us to go to New York. Let's just go to New York and not.
Just because how things escalate very, very fast, right?
If you go especially having to do it with like a 2-week notice. That's
very, it. And of course, we would want to go to the parks. We want to spend more money to those things. So it made more sense, New York. And then we did go. We line up very early.
Well, right? So our hotel, like I said, was really close to Times Square. So we arrived on the Thursday. So the product was going for sale on the Friday. We arrived on the Thursday, I think around about 11 a.m. We checked into the hotel and then we were like, we weren't planning to line up, and we were like, let's just go look at the store and see if there's like any line, because I think you'd been checking the Facebook group.
I was checking the group because people were updating each other. Yeah.
So we were like, we'll just go and check it out in person. We're really close. Then we can come back to the hotel room. And when we got there, I think there were probably already like 10 people in line.
Yeah, more or less. And I think we still went back to the hotel. Yeah. And then I think we got someone's contact.
Yeah, I think we do that? I think you spoke to someone in the line.
I remember someone say, look, people are starting to come. So we were probably the 12th in line.
We were very close to the front.
Very close. But then at that point, we realized what was going to happen, very, very fast, because people were panicking. So we literally bought a kit. A camping kit, chairs.
So I think we joined the line at about 2 p.m. and it was going on sale at 9 a.m. the following day. This is in Times Square, New York, which is a very, very busy area. Yeah. There was like some crazy summer storms and it was like raining crazy. Yes. But we joined the line at 2 p.m. with no plan. Like we had a backpack with us. We had some snacks, but that was it. And then, by 7 p.m. there were probably like 50 people in line already. Yeah. We were exhausted, so I went to Target and bought us like 2 camping chairs so we could like prop up. But it was just crazy. And then
lucky enough, where we placed the chairs was right on the surface because it was really raining. People were really in a disadvantage, but we were so lucky. Our 2 spots was under.
It was exactly. Yeah. And then so that was like 7 p.m. The store closed I think at about 9 p.m. and which was quite cool, the manager of the store came out. They were like, look, this is gonna happen. Be kind to each other. We've called the police and there's going to be a police presence overnight just so there's no trouble. So all of this, so it was okay. But then whilst this is happening, there starts being a rumor, and I don't know where it came from. I think someone said they spoke to a store employee and they said, oh, we're expecting to have about 100 of these. And by this point at 9 p.m., I would say there were probably already 100 people in line.
Oh, way more.
No, by 9 p.m. I feel like it only got really busy at like 2 a.m. because that's when our friends joined the line as well.
So we are, I don't know if you're familiar with the store, Times Square, but it goes and then of course you reach a street. So initially the line went to the side of the road, right? But eventually it got so long that people decide to break through, to follow through Times Square instead of an angle. Yeah. We just dropped every single play.
I knew that was going to happen.
Every single play had just been dropped. But anyway, and then it was probably for organization's sake, right? For clarity as well of what people were lining up to. But then there's this line that breaks through and then it goes all the way back to Times Square, all the way blocks and
it was
blocks
basically
and blocks.
wrapping around blocks.
I don't know. I want to say a number, but I'm gonna probably be incorrect. But there was at least 1,000 people. Am I making that up?
I don't know, because we never saw the end of the line. Like,
but it was blocks of New York.
But we didn't actually go to see the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were hundreds of people in this line.
Yeah.
With a rumor that there were only going to be 100 units.
And I think it was the case.
I think it was in the end.
It turned out to be 100, which, again, it goes back to the complaints or the cons from before. Yeah. No one knows. Why they don't give you that information. Yeah. And then, of course, when a rumor like that starts spreading and people are in line for hours from the day before, people start panicking because how do we ensure that people won't cut the line? And there were people cutting the line just behind us. There was one person that suddenly 5 friends came and cut the line, right? And then they had to distribute tickets.
Well, yeah, so that, I mean, honestly, this story is crazy. And one of the things that helped our channel grow initially is whilst we were in the line, Matheus would keep going and taking pictures and saying the line is this big.
To update people.
People. So, like, people were following us on Instagram because they wanted the updates. But yeah, because there was, like, no organization from the Disney store other than saying be nice to each other. One of the people who'd been there, like, right at the start, I think he was like the 3rd guy in line or something. He's like, you know what, we need to have a system here. So what he did is he basically pulled all of the people at the beginning of the line and said, look, if I give out numbered tickets, then we'll know people have like been here the whole night. And this was probably around 10, 11 p.m. So, you know, number 1 got number 1, number 2 got number 2. I do remember we were 12 and 13 because 13 is my favorite number. So we got 12, 13. The guy next to us got 14. And then, you know, it kind of ended up like that. Throughout the night, it was crazy because apparently people were like, oh, there's Pokemon scalpers here. There are like sneaker scalpers here, like trying to push into the line. But by the time we actually, like, the store manager came to speak to us again the next morning, this guy said, oh, we've done this ticketing system. And she's like, oh, I can't honor that. Like, it's just like, we have no way to enforce that. Whoever's in the line is going to be in the line. But it did turn out that, you know, it went 12, 13, 14. And then there were like 6 people that this guy had let in. And some of them were actually DLC judges, which is insane.
And they were like, they were actually being super disrespectful, saying how they were taking advantage, and it was really bad.
So it jumped quite a few numbers, and then these other people, and those people joined the line around about 6 a.m. Like, we won't name names or anything, but so it was honestly, it was like pandemonium. Like, as I said, there was police presence. People were like, "Oh wow, you're so brave!" Like being in Times Square during the night.
And it was playing that song, the New York. Yeah. I think he played that. Well, probably.
It was just on a loop,
right? The whole night, we literally listened to that song from 4 p.m. until 9 a.m. next day on a loop. I'm not kidding. And then, of course, we were lucky to be where we were. But as the line went through to the side of the road. There were rats, and people were starting to sit on the floor because they were tired, and then rats were navigating. So it was like, it wasn't Mickey Mouse, it was a different rat, but it got very nasty. Overall, we had an amazing experience, right? It was very tiring. I think the fact that we were, like Charlie said, through Inkborn Heroes' eyes, it made it special because we met people. People were like, "Oh, Inkborn Heroes," and they'll chat with us. It was the first time, in fact, that we were. I think, right? Is that before Toronto? Or?
That was before Toronto. Yeah.
So it was the first time,
in fact, because we had a friend who got us a D23 collection and brought it to Toronto.
That is true.
It was Missy Enchanted Melissa also hooked us up.
That is true. Always Melissa helping us. Thank you. But so that was the first time us as Inkborn Heroes seeing people in person, right, out of our comfort zone. So it was a very exciting experience overall.
It was really nice.
But it was very disorganized. And it just shows how... Because it's the fact that suddenly this product can be accessed in other means. And suddenly it's not as special and unique as it was planned to be, right? But again, that goes against what I just said earlier, right? It's good that other people have access to it, but it loses some of the exclusivity.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing was, so obviously this is happening in New York, and in parallel, we're getting updates from Dublin, where the Disney store is, and they're like, oh, we only got 12 units. So, like, of course, the line in ours is panicking now because they're like, oh, what if we only get 12? Yeah. And then Disney World and World of Disney opens up, and they're like, oh, no, they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And we're like, oh, why didn't we?
Should have just gone there. Yeah, exactly.
So it was an experience. Like, we did an all-nighter in Times Square. We met some really cool people in the line. We chatted. But it was just disorganized. It was chaos. And that's kind of like, I don't know. I feel like that was in 2023.
Yeah.
And it hasn't really improved much since then.
Yeah.
Like, there's still confusion. I mean, I don't know if people are lining up to get the Mickey and Minnie playmat at the Disney store in Times Square. I know, actually, when we were at DLC Ghent, we were talking to some people who went to the Dublin store, and I think there were...
It was very limited.
It was very limited, but there were enough for all of them, because I guess the hype has died down a little bit, at least in Ireland. So
that's good.
So so it was like it was an experience. It's part of like our law, but not something I think I want to repeat.
I don't think so either. I think we learned from it, but we also learned quantity, right, or what it is, the pattern right now for stock quantity. And I think if you have the chance, if you will adventure through that, my suggestion is always try going to a Disney park, especially, I don't know how it is in Paris, to be fair, like the quantity-wise, but I would suggest Disney World or Disneyland in California is going to be your best bet for quantity, but also probably where the majority of people will be. So just be aware of that and plan ahead and go earlier. Yeah.
And I think that is the problem, and kind of that geographical inequality lends itself to scalpers, and I think that is a big problem. Like, we saw it already with the D23 collection, that people were lining up who had no idea what Disney Lorcana was, because they see a huge line of people, they hear a buzz, and they're like, they're used to it, they know the process, and they, you know, if they need to cut the queue, they can. I mean, that is like a very extreme example, but I mean, you know, a lot of people are going to go to the Disney store. I think it was a limit of two per customer.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you go with your partner, you can get 4 playmats between you, and then, you know, maybe you give them to your friends, or maybe you put them on eBay.
Yeah.
And like, I was just looking just out of interest, and right now the Mickey and Minnie playmat,
the foil playmat,
the cheapest, mind you, to get one of those is 180 Canadian, so 130 US.
Yeah.
But literally, there were ones listed on there for like $300.
It's insane.
It's
and
just
I think
crazy.
they were being retailed for $30, right?
Something
30
like
USD,
that, yeah.
Before taxes. So yeah, and that's the minimum, as you're saying, right? And of course, over time, if we realize those things are not being reprinted, the value goes up and up and up. So again, we're very thankful for the help. So I will give a shout. So Gaten from France helped us, and he got one for us out of the 2 that he could from the Disneyland Paris. And Melissa, Miss Enchanted, got one for us. And the reason we got 2 is because I do want to play with one. With us. I want to play with one. And we have, as Charlie said, a collection that we keep sealed of the playmats. So that's pretty much it. So we're very thankful. But I cannot even fathom or imagine that same thing for Wild Zenon. Because I just can't simply ask. I won't be asking people. If they want to help us, so be it. Yeah. And of course, we're going to pay. We'll be happy to pay, but it's not fair, because I also know that they have their own limits to be able to get those things. So anyway, and hopefully my excitement, it was more for Mickey and Minnie. Anyway.
I think so, and like I do think the Woody and Buzz one is going to be very sought after. But this was a very unique situation, because we knew we were going to Ghent, so we were like, we can kind of organize to meet up. But I mean, we wouldn't want to ask someone to go to a store and then buy it and then ship it to us. Like, it would just be too much. So I think like, sadly, this might be the end of us being able to collect every playmat, which is like a little bit sad. But I mean, it is what it is. It is
sad. And I think part of the topic of this podcast was that, right? Because I'm sure we are not the only ones in that situation. And when it is something that we could have access to and then we don't because of location, that goes back to the problem overall that I see with this whole process. And it's a shame, because I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I do think there's obviously a lot of marketing behind this, and that kind of the scarcity is what drives people to want to go and buy a product like this, because you're like, there are so many, it's such limited quantities. Like, I can, you know, maybe get one for my collection, but I can also sell one in an inflated cost, which is a bit of a shame. And I think also the FOMO, like I'll say again, like, I think we've been really privileged to be able to get the Ravensburger one from Ravensburger and the Mickey one, Mickey and Minnie one from our friends. But, you know, a lot of people are, you know, if you live in Australia, you can't get access to either of these. If you live in Japan or any country like that. So it's just like, I don't know. It's unfair. Yeah.
I think it's unfair. That's my opinion. And hopefully they are aware. Hopefully things will get better. We always try to remain positive.
And we would like to see some exclusive, but maybe more easily available
exclusive products. Exclusive, but in other ways. Just quickly, just because I did mention, and I don't want to sound like I said something I didn't go through, So that was the 100, right?
Yeah.
We don't need to go through many details, but it was its own product. It was with out art and the signature of the artist, of course, printed. It wasn't manually signed. It was printed digitally, right? But that product itself, it turned out to be, it was also shared as something super exclusive. So people are going crazy and paying crazy costs for that. But then at the end of the day, literally, it was almost like into the Inklands. It would never end. Charlie just brought here the product, so ours is protected, but that's the collection I'm talking about.
For anyone watching on video version, if you're on the podcast,
card was signed by the artist, but that's not physically signed. It's just a printed version of the signature.
But also,
beautiful, super nice.
For anyone who's listening rather than watching, it is in a sealed case because we really want to protect this. We really want to make sure that this incredibly exclusive product stays in good condition. But now I think you can still go to Disney World and see it.
You're probably going to still find it. Don't quote me on that, but it's insane because, again, people were selling for so much. And at first, everyone was panicking. It was like, and then now it's just trying to go through the stock. To be fair, I haven't seen any more, even when we were at the Disney parks. But true. I mean, it's been years. To be fair, it's been years. And the quality of those cards compared to the D23 and the other ones was probably the worst quality. They will print go super fast. The way you get those cards was in a little paper envelope, like similarly to when there was the first set championship card. So everything pringoed. So it's probably the worst quality. But again, it was a test run. It's the first time they do that. Well, second time maybe. So I get it. But it goes back to FOMO, right? And wanting to own everything. And then suddenly it's not exclusive at all. Yeah.
And then one exclusive product, which I forgot to add to my list, but I just remembered, is actually, so certain retailers have access to kind of like collections, right? So there was the Costco collection, which had a binder and some packs. And I
think it started with the Mickey, the pirate Mickey, right? In Ruby. I think that was the first
one
ever
Target exclusive.
Target, I think.
Yeah. So I feel like the prestige level of things like those are maybe less. Like I think if you're a collector who has like a sealed collection, you want one of everything, I mean, maybe there's like a goal there, because a lot of them seem to be, we have a bunch of extra packs, we need a way of like getting, I don't want to say rid of them, but
it is
burning through some of that overstock they have. So it's been like things like, well, I mean, there was one with the first chapter, which is really cool. It was first chapter in Floodborn. They did one with Inklands, like several sets after Inklands. So that is like another product. And it's been very limited. We were quite fortunate that the first chapter and Floodborn one was available at EB Games in Canada.
One of them we got sent by the villain set.
Yeah,
it was a gift. We were gifted by
Lorcana Man.
Yeah, right.
And
so that one we didn't have access here.
That was a Costco exclusive.
Yeah.
So
and we have Costco here.
Yeah, we have Costco. So we live in Quebec, which is in Canada, but it doesn't always get what the rest of Canada
Quebec
gets.
Doesn't feel like Canada. It's almost its own country.
Yeah, which is a funny thing. So there are certain gift sets. So like the was it the Pirate Mickey that you could get at Costco? Am I mistaken?
I think that one, the Pirate Mickey is the one we tried to get when we drove to get it, and we got there and there wasn't. I think that was the Target. Yeah, right? Yeah. And super quick. That was also, as far as I remember, the introduction to Glimmer foils.
Yeah.
Right, which has its own finish and stuff. It was the start over there.
Yeah. So that was a Target exclusive. So anyway, there was a Costco exclusive, which was in the United States. I don't believe it was anywhere else outside of the United States. And then it got expanded to Canada. They had it in Ontario. They had it in British Columbia. They had it in Saskatchewan, everywhere except Quebec. And it's a funny thing. It's because in Quebec there's like very strict language laws. Everything has to be in French and English. As far as I know, those products are in French and English. But I think because on the packaging, but I think because the cards are English, they can't. They don't stock them or whatever.
I don't think they are sold in French. I think they are also in English.
Yeah. So we had a friend who was in Ontario, just like on a road trip or whatever, and managed to pick one up for us. But that's like an example of like, again, it's just another region that was locked out. But of course, it was like if you lived outside of the USA and Canada, you didn't get access. But then they started introducing the sets to things like GameStop in America, Target, Costco, things like that. So again, it feels very North American centric. As far as I know, those haven't been like even brought to Europe yet.
I'm not sure. I thought I thought I did see in Europe, but
maybe the
but I'm
Costco
not
one.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah. But still,
yeah.
it just feels as bad, right?
Yeah.
When it is limited to regions.
But at least those ones, like I said, they don't feel like they have the same
well, but they
prestige
could
as a collector.
have.
They could.
But that's the thing,
Yeah,
right?
they
Because
could.
again, this is how you get those glimmer foils.
Yeah,
Some people
true.
would be obsessed for those glimmer foils.
Yeah.
Now that has been transformed or turned into the gift boxes, which is super cool, right?
Yeah.
So that's now how you get, like, for example, the Lilo
Yeah.
Escape Artist, that is a glimmer foil. And in fact, we were talking about, so a little segue, we did the video for the gift box for Scrooge McDuck, and we did the Stitch, right? The promo Stitch. We raised that question, which I only realized later. We're saying, why is not an out art for Stitch? But it's because for Stitch, that's the gift set or the collection set.
Yes.
Versus the gift box. When we have out arts, are the gift box.
Yeah, so I believe so far the alt art glimmer foils have just been the gift boxes. So it's
exactly.
the
so
Lilo,
we have Lilo, we have Elsa,
and now we have Scrooge
McDuck. Yeah.
Versus everything else. So like the Mickey, so the Mickey was an exclusive. I don't remember which store, but that was same art, different treatment with a binder.
Yeah.
And then there's been Stitch.
There's always been same art. Yeah. So we have the Queen in blue.
Yeah, Tinkerbell. So the Queen in blue was the one that we got sent from Lorcana Man.
Yeah. Then we have Tinkerbell, which was the first collection set for Fable.
Yeah.
Right, which
True. Yeah.
It keeps the same art. So what I'm saying is, you can have the introduction of foil glimmer, without having an out art.
Yeah.
Out art with foil glimmer or glimmer foil will come for the gift boxes.
It becomes
we gotta make a video about
it. It becomes so complicated. If you want one of every card, my goodness, you really have to work for it. Which, I mean, maybe that's a good thing.
That is a good thing. No, that is a good thing
because
for a collect, right? It's cool. It's trading card game. Is also about chasing.
I think there's something fun about, like, if you're a collector, if you're a completionist, if you have that in your soul, it's really fun. Just like wanting to check all the boxes and get all of the things. But I think to kind of summarize the topic a little bit for us, we're at that point now where, at least for the playmats, we know we're not going to get all of them just because of the situation. We already had kind of come to terms with the promo cards. Like, if you collect all the promo cards, those first D23 cards are part of that, so it's very, very difficult to get those.
I still want to get those, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Just throwing out there. But let's carry on, because I don't want to start.
I also don't want to sell my car.
I know.
So I think we kind of made peace that we wouldn't get all of the promo cards, and I think that's kind of it. It's like, you almost have to say, what level of collector are you? And I think we're kind of maybe not going to have everything. We're going to try and have most things. And yeah, ideally we'd love to get things for the sealed collection, but I do fear that it's not sustainable to be asking our friends to get us a full playmat every set.
For sure. And of course, we didn't even touch on subjects of the D23 membership. There's the golden membership that gives your own thing. There's the prizes that you automatically get from, not automatically, by succeeding on the Disney Lorcana challenge, right? So those are the foil playmats, those are the foil promos. Although the playmats you can also acquire via the prize wall. So there's categories and categories. There's the prize, there's the actual trophy, right? Yeah. And all this, you could argue that those are collectibles and exclusive, but those never felt unfair, because these are literally prizes, right? It makes sense that there's exclusivity tied to prizes as well.
And I think that element of it is good, because if I'm a competitive player, I want good prizes. I might not care about the promo cards or the playmat, but I know there's a resale market, and it's like, I don't care if, DKP wants to sell his golden Mickey, right? Like, he earned that. He put in the time, he traveled, like, he should be able to have a way to sell that to make money, because it of itself doesn't have monetary value.
But that's it as well, right? I think when you compare to other trading card games, a lot of trading card games will have a money associated to a monetary, actual physical money.
Some of them give air fryers.
Do they really? So they have money associated to that big tournament, right? Lorcana doesn't do that in purpose, which is fair. Again, I think it's healthier, maybe. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to overthink that. But those cards are your way to get to that money, right? So it's fair. You fought for that.
Yeah, right? And I think it's important to have an ecosystem where there are people who are engaged with collecting, who, want to say, I have a golden Mickey. And I think that's perfectly healthy. I think where the line becomes more gray, and again, that's been the topic of this podcast, is when anyone can go pick up a playmat and then sell it at like 10 times its value.
Because they happen to be in the right region.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. I don't know if you had anything else to say about this topic.
I feel like it's probably been so long. We can go and go and go. I think we could go through every single category, right, of how promos are done and stuff. But that's probably good enough. We are very curious to hear your opinion as well, of course. Because I'm fairly sure there are very strong opinions about that. When you get to a level where you're another hardcore type of collector, you will have your opinion as well. So please share. That's what this is all about, right?
Yeah. And discuss in the comments. But we should.
And let's voice ourselves so Ravensburger can make sure that everyone have access to it, but still keeping exclusive somehow. I don't know how, but somehow.
I know. Okay, so we can move on to our question and answer segment. So we have a few questions sent in by you out there, the viewers and the listeners.
But first, should we say which name we picked?
Yes, we should say which name we picked. So we did ask the community to give us some suggestions for potential names. There were a lot of really, really great ones. But
for this segment.
For this segment, yes. And the one we picked was What Are You Inking?, which was suggested by Melanie Geddes. So thank you, Melanie. And officially for the first time, welcome to the What Are You Inking segment, where we're going to take questions and answers from you, the community out there. So first question is, I'm just _BS. I'd love to hear more about y'all's thoughts on a variety in foiling. Cold foils seem meh, and I would love to see alternate art, epics, or even a new rarity have different foiling patterns. Whispers was a great introduction into this, but they stopped for Winterspell Whisper cards. And I know Matheus is going to talk.
The question was too fast. So we're saying other forms of representing a foil treatment? Is that what it is?
Just like... as a way to spice up the pack opening experience, what are your thoughts on alternate foils?
Okay.
And I'll let you start. I know but this is a topic you're so passionate about.
I know, but I didn't understand the question right now.
Read the question. This was basically, I think, a follow-up to the first episode where we talked about the pack opening experience and saying that we think it could be a little bit improved to make it a bit more interesting. And for sure, I don't know about foiling necessarily, and I'll just give the caveat that I think the foiling in Disney Lorcana is maybe less than desirable. Anyone who has opened foil cards for the last few sets where the foil is applied to the whole card know that those cards become incredibly pringled. Like, I play a deck with double sleeves. I put some foil cards in, and they're, you can see them in the deck. So that's not great, but...
So that is the cold foil. I think it's
the hot foil, right?
Hot foil, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's a good addendum, because Lorcana started with cold foil, which would be just in the art itself.
It'd just be on the top.
And a different treatment. Some people would say that was hard to see because it wasn't as strong, that they went to hot foil now, which applies to the whole card, is way more visible, is more apparent, but... it has the consequences that Charlie said. It just sprinkles very, very, very fast. Yeah.
So, I don't know if I necessarily... Well, I like alt arts. I've said that before. Like, I think alt arts would be a really good way to just spice up the pack. Like, card number 5, one of your uncommons just happens to be an alt art. I think that would be really, really awesome as a pack opening experience. We loved the Whisper foil treatment. I think it was absolutely fantastic. Like, it looked beautiful. Like, the cards looked super premium. And then they only did it for one set. And we if there's one complaint we have on this channel a lot is kind of consistency issues. And like, something gets introduced, it's really cool, people love it, the next set it's gone, and then the explanation is like, oh, we just did it because we thought it'd be cool. And I think
it doesn't match with other things, right? We had our own argument about Floodborn is still there, but anyway, that's another topic. But I gotta say, they are doing those things, right? So for example, 2 sets ago, I think it was, when we started getting unique foil for the single player decks, right? So there were four foil cards, but those had a unique finish, because they always been foil, but now a different type of foil. I think was more of a rainbow foil or something along those lines. Of course, with the introduction of iconic cards coming from Fable and onwards, they had that completely new type of foil with so many different layers, which is fantastic. Honestly, you see those videos, you don't know until you see in person. There's so much layer to that, and it's beautiful, right? So they did do that. And there is now the 2-player set coming in with Wilds and On, which we know as well there will be 4 unique foils. We don't know if it's the same rainbow treatment as the single-player decks. I believe so, but it could be something unique. So there's always something to look forward to, right? Personally, for this question in particular, even though I hate the fact that hate is such a strong word, but even though I'm unpleased about the fact that there is the lack of consistency with the example of Whispers as an example, I would appreciate if every set instead they would introduce something new then. If there's a new category or dual wink. Imagine if all the dual winks had a unique foil.
Yeah,
right?
that would be awesome.
What is the? I don't think we have a gimmick for the Wild Unknown already. Do we know anything about Wild Unknown? Is there any gimmick? Well, maybe there's going to be something else being introduced, right? Mechanically speaking. Yeah. So imagine if that would come with its own foil. Of course, I wish it would be additive and those things will remain. But I do think, in short, what I'm trying to say is I do like the experimentation. I do like that they are trying new things. And I think Iconic was the best. Iconic and Whispers were the best examples of how foils can be very exciting and very beautiful, right? Yeah. So hoping for more, but I don't have any concrete examples.
Yeah.
And hoping that cold foils does not, or hot foils does not keep pringling. Because I detest that.
Yeah, it's not the best. You pass me that. I'll look at the next question. But a really interesting topic, and we could do another whole podcast just about foiling. Next, we have a question from Caitlin O'Connell 517. Another question I had was just how you organize and store your collection. Brackets separate. Do you have placeholders for cards you want? Would love a collection tour.
So first, I'm going to link just right here. I suppose if you're listening to this, you won't be able to click. But if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link of how we deal with our collection. We have a video about that.
Yeah.
And then after that, we can expand as an answer.
Yeah, so first of all, because separate was in brackets, we actually share a collection because we're married, so it makes it a little bit easier. And yeah, the video is interesting. So we did kind of a video on how we store our collection. It's probably almost 2 years old now.
Yeah.
And since then, we've kind of changed how we do our collection a little bit. So in the past, up until Fabled, so the first 8 sets, we had 2 binders for everything. We had a master set binder. So a master set binder is a regular and foil version of every card. And that was like the sacred binder. We're not allowed to take things out of the sacred master set binder.
So that's pretty much 408 cards. So a double the quantity of the 204.
Yep.
That does not include, it could include, but in our case, does not include the enchanted.
Yeah.
Because we wouldn't even put that in a binder. We have it another way to store those.
Yeah. And then after that, we had a playset binder, which is 4 copies of every card. And the intention with that is if I want to build a deck, whether it's a competitive deck or even just one for the channel, we have the 4 cards in there. Super easy. We pulled them out. If we get duplicates of like rares and above, we'll put more in the binder. So we'll just fill one of the pockets. If it's like a really playable card, so like that's an uncommon or a common, we do the same. But it just meant that it's super easy for us to build decks.
And it's a base of 816 cards. So we're already talking about that's in addition to the master set. So we're talking about 816 plus 408 cards.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
Which is quite a lot. And then we have a third version of collecting or putting stuff together, which is the troves.
Yeah, so any bulk we have, so that's like cards that aren't playable, we would put in a trove. So
usually rare under rare. So commons and uncommons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was how we were doing it up until Fabled.
Yeah.
And we were like, this is cool. We have like all of these cards in these perfect binders and one day we'll sell them. And then rotation happened.
Yeah.
And the cost of everything just completely tanked. So we were like, you know what? It's like we were spending a lot of like energy getting the foil cards specifically for the master set. We were either buying them or trading them, and it was a lot.
Very costly, especially for the legendaries.
Very costly, yeah. So we were like, okay, this isn't sustainable. It doesn't really make sense. So what we do now is for each set we just have a single binder, and we put a play set in there. So we use Voltex binders. We used to use Voltex binders just for our master sets. Now we use Voltex binders for our single binder per set. So the way it works with the number of pockets, and I don't know if you remember the number of pockets.
It's 4x3, right? I think, or 4x4.
But do you remember the total number of pages?
Say again?
Do you remember the total number of pages?
Oh,
well, it can hold.
So it's not ideal.
Card.
Let's start with that. It's not ideal because we could have not used Voltex for this, because for us Voltex makes sense for a master set, right?
Yeah.
But now we're trying to use Voltex because it's our favorite binder, quality and whatnot. To store everything as Charlie said. So what we're doing, we're still approaching as if it was a master set, right? So we still have 2 cards, so you see side by side. But the difference is instead of being one of each, we put a foil on the left side if we do get a foil, and we put 3 additional units on the right side. So you have 4 cards in total. For playable cards, we start stacking more and more, which is dangerous because you don't want to do that.
There's probably like 12 Grandmother Willows in that binder right now.
So you don't want to do that, but that's how we've been doing. It's not as flexible as a playset because playset, it was so easy. You take it, you have a playset.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the counting behind it. So don't follow our idea.
So that's what we had to do. Because there is a Voltex binder that's big enough to hold.
There's a huge one, but it's too big because it's also bigger in scale. So the size of the binder is bigger. It won't fit in our shelf. And I have OCD. If that thing is bigger now from set 10 onwards, I'll go crazy.
Yeah,
so we had to find a way to do this.
Yeah, so that's how it is. And then, we have like promo card, we have my words, we have a specific binder for promo cards. So in there, and because that was part of the question. So with the regular cards, it's much easier for us to get one of each because we open so much product for two people. So we don't necessarily put a paper in there to say we're missing this card. For the promo binder, on the other hand, we do actually, like where there's an empty slot, I started putting in a piece of paper saying, oh, this is Captain Hook from the D23 collection, just so I know what's missing, because some of those are a lot more attainable to be able to replace. I don't think, Matheus tells me the Captain Hook will eventually have a card in there, but I don't know. So we have that, and then we also have a fireproof box, basically, which is where we put all of the enchanted cards, the cards from the DLCs, things like that. So the one
the
iconic.
PSA. So it is a PSA specific type of case that is waterproof, fireproof, all proofs, Dwight proof. But then we also store the things that hasn't been PSA'd but are enchanted. We'll put it there as well. I do want to give a tip super fast though, because I think it was life changing. For the trolls, we eventually come to a realization. I think someone recommended to us, when you're organizing them per color, because that's kind of what you're going to use those dividers for. We get a very loose sleeve. How do you call it? It's not a tight sleeve.
Sleeve.
The penny sleeves, so they're loose. We actually started to put, so let's say we have a Percy the Pug. We put all the purses in one penny sleeves, and then we'll put in order per color and per card number.
Yeah.
That facilitates so much, because then when we're looking for a card, you just pull out the whole penny sleeve with then a lot inside, instead of having just purses after purses. And that also helps us, moving stuff around when we need, because we like following the card number because it's easier to find later on. So try it out. Is life-changing, honestly.
Yeah. But we should actually do an updated of how we protect our collection, because I think since we did that video, we found ways like that with the Trove to optimize the collection and make it a bit better and
it's just faster.
To manage.
Anything you need to create decks, it just helps you, right? Really, yeah.
Okay.
Great questions, by the way.
It is. So the next question is from Ostink7681. My question for a future podcast: what style would you like to see the Wilds Unknown Enchanted take? For me, I want something akin to 30s pulp comic book style, or their take on the Incredibles Art Deco credit style.
Oh my god, I love both. I think that's the answer. Like, I don't even have to think of. I love both. I think it's so fitting. Of course, the examples you gave is very fitting to Incredibles. I think very fitting to Incredibles. I don't know how that would reflect to
like
Brave,
right?
Because Brave is one of the new franchises, right? If they have enchanters in Brave, I mean, they have to have, right? But it's also one of my favorite questions. I wish I had an answer because I did not prepare myself. Because as you probably know, I love making the Enchanted video where we analyze the art direction for the Enchanted in particular. But good shout.
I think they're really cool. Yeah, it's tricky for me. I'm not really the artistic one in the Inkborn heroes. I feel like maybe for Attack of the Vine, I have a stronger feeling because the identity of that is very much like the...
It's 80s, right? Is it 80s?
No, it's more like the 1950s sci-fi films.
Oh, yeah, it is, of course.
Because for me, it's like...
It's almost like the sci-fi diner
exactly.
in Disney World.
So,
right?
so like, I mean, maybe like that would be a really cool style for that.
Have to do that. I think they will do that. Right? They got to do it.
I'd love to see that because that would be an amazing style. I think for Wilds Unknown specifically, it's less of an art style, but more like kind of a visual language. And we saw it with Arcasia's Island. So they had lots of like floral elements, lots of like grass and leaves and things like that. So I'd like to see maybe more of the set brought into it. And because it's Wilds Unknown, I'm hoping it's going to be very organic, probably bringing in the vines as well, kind of setting up the next set. But art style, I can say less about because I don't know the difference.
I do I'm opposed to that. I'll be honest.
You're opposed?
I'm opposed to the vines.
Oh no.
To the vines, because I think if the Attack of the Vine has the title Attack of the Vine, that's where I would like to see the vines. If that makes sense. I feel like on its own, that approach should be on Attack of the Vines, and it will probably be the case. They're probably gonna have that element there.
Sorry, I more meant because. Yeah, I guess.
But I see what you meant. I think you're thinking more about the treacherous environments of Wilds and
exactly.
to come across somehow, and they'll probably do that.
And like setting up the next set. So
art-wise, I love Art Deco. I think what he said.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Is it he, she, or
they,
you? I'm sorry. Yeah, then. So I'm sorry. I love the Art Deco. It's just that, of course, when I think about that, it goes straight away to The Incredibles as well. I think you got it perfectly nailed. And nothing stops to expand to the other franchises as well, so maybe it will work, but we don't know. I have a stronger opinion for Attack of the Vine, as Charlie said, and I think it has to be
please
that style. Yeah. I'm so excited. Independently, I'm so excited. It's my favorite part is when the first Enchanted is revealed.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see which Enchanted breaks the style.
Oh yeah, that's gonna happen as well, and I'm gonna have a full video about that, so just check that out.
But really excited about that.
You're being the sassy one today.
Know, sorry, I'm setting Matheus up so he can.
He wants to put the blame on me later.
And then the last question we have is from Looney Tooney 22. If you could add another color/gem, what would it be, and what would its main mechanic be? I.e., Sapphire is ink power. For me, it would be Onyx with the ability to sneak, allowing a challenging character to attack without taking damage during your turn.
This is so cool. I just wish I had read those questions beforehand and prepared myself. Because it was there, but I did not prepare myself.
Yeah, you need to prepare more. I mean, I think there are a couple of mechanics that I like the concept of that isn't in the game yet that could kind of lend itself to a new ink identity. So I don't know what color it would be. You can pick, but
I'll pick the color, you'll pick the gameplay.
I've never really played TCGs, and I've said this a few times now, but I did play Hearthstone for a little bit because we were actually researching it for a video game I was working on. So I got really into it because as soon as I start playing anything, I become obsessed. And they had a mechanic in there, which is in a lot of other trading card games, which is a concept of tokens. So it was the Jade Golem deck. And it's like when you play this character, you create a Jade Golem token. And every time you create one of these, it becomes stronger and stronger. So the first one is a 1/1, the second one is a 2/2, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a mechanic that's a little bit complicated for Disney Lorcana because you need to have tokens and things like that to be able to support it.
Isn't that almost like boost?
Well, it's not boost because it's creating a character. So it's not something that's in your 60 cards. It's like saying when you play Murder, create a bear token. And now this is a bear that's a character on its own that has different rules. It's like a simple character. So in Hearthstone, the golems, like the Jade Golem you would create, were all vanilla. So it was just, but the more of these you created, the stronger they get. So eventually, if you've done enough, you can have like a token that's like a 12/12, a 13/13. Like
is it like I'm just trying to imagine for Lorcana, is that an additional physical thing on your board?
Yeah.
So we'll have to have that representation somehow.
It would be like a character, but it would have its own stats. So that's maybe why it's a little bit complicated. But they do it in Magic, they do it in Star Wars Unlimited, and I do think it's like
it's gonna probably happen then. If it
mechanically
is
mechanically for me, it's something that I think is quite fun, and being able to build a deck. Like imagine the puppy deck, right? Imagine the Tailwagger wasn't a card; it was a token. So that would be my pitch. I think the other one is like allowing a character to sing the turn they played. So like Rush.
I literally heard about that from the Brazilian community last week, and I said, please never, because you're saying that because you are a still song player.
Yeah,
please never, don't do that.
Yeah, I suppose they have it with Prince Naveen, where when you play, you can play
just put on a card effect. Don't do it as an actual card.
Yeah, but the difference would be that the character has to exert. So it's like a Rush character. They have to rush in and challenge. Like this is a character they sing, but then you can challenge them down.
Yeah,
but I think if they do that, they would just add it to Amber.
Yeah, well, they will. Yeah, it will be a keyword.
They'll add it to Emerald anyway because they know I don't like playing Emerald. They put all the like the Ursula.
Listen, we're not doing that, okay? So for the first one that is said, it's gonna be Jade. It's gonna be the answer because you're saying Jade.
We already have Emerald.
So is Jade the same color as Emerald? it's a variation of Emerald called Jade.
Okay, so there we go. But I really like Looney Tooney's suggestion as well.
Yeah.
I think To me, actually, the mechanic they said just allowing a challenging character to attack without taking damage during your turn. We already kind of have that with like Hercules, right? So he can only take damage from being challenged.
The legendary Ruby Hercules. Yeah, that is true. But it could be its own.
It could be, and I feel like
that would be huge, right? If it's a full color identity.
Yeah,
that would be
you
crazy.
gotta have a few different keywords and mechanics, and maybe like a color that lets you draw that isn't called amethyst. It would be nice.
I think I have another question. Could boost or a keyword have been a color on its own? Could we have had, you see what I mean?
Yes.
Could that ever have been a consideration? Like instead of being a keyword, it's literally an identity? I think it could, right? It's just very, it would just be a shame because it's such a cool mechanic to go across every type of deck, right? I suppose.
Yeah, and I feel like there would maybe be less like uptake on it because it's like specific. And I think what's kind of, because boost, it's a bit so-so. Like I think this set with Winterspell, it really pushed it a lot further. There were only a couple of boost cards being used really in Whispers in the Well. So I think it's nice that it's kind of spread.
I do love it though. I think I said that so many times. Boost is one of my favorite surprises.
It just feels nice to boost.
It's just
I
so
love
nice.
it. I love the ergonomics.
The risk associated to that. I love what comes next if you are bounced. And I love the effects. I think the effects have been very creative so far, right? So I'm a true believer that boost is going to be one of the best keywords, and is already getting there, right? Yeah. So I think that's all the questions, right?
That's it. That's everything for today. So let us know down in the comments what your thoughts are on any of those questions, or also Disney Park exclusive or Disney exclusive
products,
Ravensburger exclusive products. Let us know. If you enjoyed this podcast and you're listening or watching on YouTube, be sure to give us a like and hit the subscribe button so that it helps the algorithm send our videos to more people and gets us to 10,000 subscribe 100,000 subscribers.
Please more than that. Let's not go back to 10,000.
So we can get the plaque. And of course, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can leave us a review, and it really does help us out there.
Don't forget to send your questions as well for the upcoming podcast. Yeah. We'll love to answer your questions now that we even have a segment name. So again, thank you so much for Melanie for sending this over. We really appreciate. And thank you for everyone who sent suggestions. I think they were all fantastic. It was really hard to pick one, but we had to stick to one.
You're a lot more creative than us because it took us so long to come up with a name for the podcast itself. So then we were like, we can't think of questions.
We can't start again. Yeah. So thank you so much. That really helps. So send your questions our way and we will answer it in the next episode. Right?
Absolutely. And so with that, thanks for watching, and until next time,
happy questing.
Happy questing.